Today, I have one take to tell you about the day that I almost died. So, this day was my school trip to go snowboarding. I was taking a class that we got to go snowboarding once a week for 8 weeks, I think it was. And this is my first time snowboarding, so I was pretty excited. I used to ride a ripstick, which is like a caster board, which is like a two-wheel skateboard thing. Those were pretty fun. So I thought it'd be good at snowboarding. So yeah, we left early. We got up there, and we had to hang out like an hour before our first lesson. So I was hanging out. I got the board and the rental boots and all that stuff. And so we finally, it was time for the lesson, and we went out into, they had a little area like taped off with caution tape, or like the yellow fencing or the orange fencing stuff. That was like the practice area. And all we did for the hour lesson was practice keeping our balance on the board going down just like 10 feet. And we never actually clipped our second shoe in. We just had the back shoe in. And we did a little bit with stopping, but not that much. She pretty much just told us how to stop at the end of the lesson. But we didn't leave for another 4 hours, so we had a bunch of time to keep snowboarding. So most of the people had maybe snowboarded once or twice before, and so they went off snowboarding. And I found one of like the parent chaperones, and I'm like, hey, I've never done this before. Can you help me? And he was skiing though. So we went on the bunny hill, which, if you don't know what that is, that's like the hill for little kids to go on, or beginners. It's just a simple, easy, gradual hill that goes straight down. Not any kind of a big deal. Nothing that you should have to be worried about. So I was going down. First I had to figure out how to use the ski lift, and that was kind of hard, but I got that, and I got up to the top, and it looked like a long way down. It was probably like 150 yards down. Now at this point, it's important to note that the night before it had been really windy and really cold, and it was really warm that whole week. So the snow started to melt and then frozen again, so it was pretty slick out, and they warned us about that. So I didn't really know what I was doing, but I clipped both my feet in, and I figured the worst that happens is I fall down, right? Worst that happens. So I start down the hill, and the guy who was helping me, he stayed up at the top of the hill because he was talking to someone else. And I'm like, I got this. I know what I'm doing, right? I was like 15, I think. So I'm going down, and I get about halfway down, and I realized I'm going way too fast because I wasn't cutting back or anything. I was just going straight down, just a straight bomb down the hill. And I'm like, I'm going way too fast. I'm not going to stop. And I need to stop. So what I did is I tried to turn and lean into the hill so that I would just slide down, and I could protect my face and just slide. But as I turned, a little shelf of ice scooped up, and the back of my board caught that and flipped me backwards, so all of the force of me going down this hill transferred right into the back of my head. And I hit, and I'm like, oh, that hurt, right? So then I'm like, I think I'm okay. So I stand up, and now I'm like 3/4 of the way down, and it's mostly flat from here on out. And the guy's like, are you okay? And I look back up the hill, and I give him a thumbs up. I'm like, yeah, I'm good to go. No big deal, right? Just a little spill. But it knocked the wind out of me, but I've had the wind knocked out of me before. So I'm like, not a big deal. I got this. So I finished going down, no problem. I'm like, but after that, I need a break. So I go inside, and I think I got lunch. I think I had like a sack lunch that I brought. Pretty good. I think it was like a sandwich and chips. And I'm hanging out inside for a while. And I start feeling pretty sleepy, and I'm just hanging out inside. I had no cell service or anything, so I'm just sitting there. Pretty soon I fall asleep, and I wake up, and I feel like car sick, but I'm not in a car. I'm sitting in the lodge. So I go and I throw up, on the floor first. I just like I stood up and I turned and I spewed. And then I found the trash can and I threw up like 2 more times in there. And then they're like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just not feeling good. But then they realized that I hit my head and I had fallen asleep and thrown up, which those 3 things together mean concussion. And then it just started gradually feeling worse and worse, and they didn't want to have to cut the trip short for everyone else, so they were talking about bringing an ambulance up, but that would take just as long to get up there as it would for us to drive down. So they're like, do you think you can drive down, and then you'll go to the hospital once you get down? I'm like, I think so, and I already get car sick, and they didn't want me throwing up in the car, but we figured we had to risk it. So I went for it, and I got to ride on the back of this cool little like snowcat thing. Like, it was like not an ATV, but like a golf cart kind of a thing, but it had snow treads on it. It was pretty cool, and I got to sit on the back of that when they took me over to the medical station. But then when the van was ready to leave, I got to sit up front, and I went down. Not a big deal coming down. But then we got down. I got to the hospital, and my mom was there. And the thing is, when you go to the ER, you have to wait. And I'm like about to throw up again, and I don't want to throw up again in the ER waiting room. And I remember there was like one other guy in the ER waiting room that was waiting. That he was an MMA guy, and he broke his hand punching someone. I think he was still waiting to go in when I finally left hours later. But so let's see, where are we? We're in the hospital waiting room. So I finally get back into a room, and they're like, okay, we need to give you an MRI, check to see if there's a bleed on your brain or anything like that, or swelling. So I'll go in. MRI wasn't that bad. I mean, you just sit there. I don't know if you've ever been in one before, but it just goes around your head, and I was okay. It was pretty swollen, but nothing bleeding. And then they come in and they're like, so, next time you go snowboarding, you're gonna wear a helmet, right? And I'm like, I did wear a helmet. They're like, are you sure? And I'm like, kind of sure I wore a helmet when I went snowboarding, right? Like, that makes sense. Like, I had one on. And it turns out that my concussion was so bad that they hadn't seen somebody with a helmet on that had a concussion that bad before. And they said pretty much I probably wouldn't have lived if I didn't have a helmet on. So I'm definitely glad that the teachers in charge of the snowboarding thing said that we all had to wear proper safety helmets. And as a PSA, I would recommend that anytime you go snowboarding or anything like that, wear a helmet, because your head's pretty valuable.